awesome. So we are good to go. The live is set. All right, volume is down. All right, cool. So we're straight. All right, here we go, ladies and gents. Let me make sure this is recording as well. Sweet. So our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. And we are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it is in each and every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fears, our presence automatically liberates others. All right, ladies and gents, we're going to get right to it. I'm going to share one affirmation instead of our three, and we're going to get rocking and rolling. So the affirmation is this, and this is something I say all the time. And after a while, it becomes a mindset, right? After a while, it just becomes the truth and in the reality of your life, right? In your situation. I am the success that I seek, and that which I am seeking is now seeking me. I am the success that I seek, and that which I'm seeking is now seeking me. All right, and the third time. So I am the success that I seek, and that which I am seeking is now seeking me. All right, awesome, guys. So we're going to be one and done today. We're going to get right into it. And I'm going to mention something at the end of the call, like an announcement. So we're moving along, right? We're going through this process of mastery, and it talks about strategies for complementing the ideal apprenticeship, right? We went over a few weeks ago valuing learning over money, right? Valuing learning a skill set, learning the knowledge over seeing money coming quickly, right? Because we're talking about mastery, because sometimes money gets in the way. And right, we're in a space when it deals with investing. We're in a space when it deals with money. So I'm not saying it's not important. It's absolutely important, right? It's essential to our lives. But what I'm saying is sometimes people get it, their priorities shift, right? They focus more on the money than the learning, right? But one really focuses on the other, right? You can't have one without the other, right? There was something I watched when I was a kid. It was called Love and Marriage, right? I think it was the Bundys, right? They had a song called Love and Marriage. And it's like, you can't have one without the other. You can't have one without the other. And that's the same way that I see this, right? They work together. They aren't separate, right? The skill set is not separate from the money, right? The money is not separate from the skill set. The skill set's not separate from desire, right? The skill set is not separate from mastery. The skill set is not separate from the time and effort that we put into it, right? But the money's not separate from that either, right? So when we understand the equation, it all works together, right? They're not separate, right? The money is not separate from the skill set. The skill set's it's separate from the time that we invest. The focus when we invested, the time, right? The focus when we invested, the intention we have when we're locked into any session, because what you put into is what you get out, right? So the intention leads to how quickly you learn the skill set, which leads to how quickly you get to the money, right? And when it comes to the products make it simple with what we have at I Am Mastery Academy. But again, we're focused on mastery, right? Products will get you money today, right? If we understand the products, right? If we understand how to use the products. But that's where we are, right? It's mastery. One thing builds upon the next, right? One thing builds upon the next. So learning value over money, right? Expanding your horizons, continually looking outside of yourself. We discussed that, right? A couple weeks ago, we discussed reverting to a feeling of inferiority, right? Going to that childlike state so that we can learn as children learn, so then we can receive just like children do, right? Because they learn super quick because they had that feeling of inferiority. Then we moved to last week, trusting the process, right? And I'll make sure that you guys have the links to these calls too, so they're in our chat. So we can always refer back to them because I need to hear it too. But trusting the process, right? That was last week. And this week we are on number 5, right? Moving towards resistance and pain. Moving towards resistance and pain. There's 8 of these, and we're on number 5, right? So moving towards resistance and pain. So of course, there's going to be a story. So here we go. So Bill Bradley, this is 1943, fell in love with basketball somewhere around the age of 10. He had one advantage over his peers. He was tall for his age. But he had one, but beyond that, he had no real gift for the game. He was slow and gawky and couldn't jump high at all. None of the aspects of the game came easily to him. He would have to compensate for all of his inadequacies through sheer practice. And so he proceeded to devise one of the most rigorous and efficient training routines in the history of sports. Managed to get his hands on the keys to the high school gym. He created for himself a schedule, 3.5 hours of practice after school on Sundays, 8 hours every Saturday, and 3-hour days during the summer. Over the years, he would keep rigidly to this schedule. In the gym, he would put 10-pound weights on his shoes to strengthen his legs and give him more spring to his jump. His greatest weakness, he decided, were his dribbling and his overall slowness. He would have to work on these and also transform himself into a superior passer to make up for this lack of speed. For this, he devised various exercises. He wore eyeglass frames with a piece of cardboard taped to the bottom, so he cannot see the basketball when he dribbled. You actually see a lot of people doing that today. They have they call them blinders, right? Horses have blinders when they're racing. They put them on the side so they can't see other horses. They just run. So he did that. He set up chairs on the court to act as opponents. He would dribble around them back and forth for hours until he could glide past them, quickly changing directions, right? He spent hours at both of these exercises, well past any feelings of boredom or pain. Well past any feelings of boredom or pain, right? So he pushed through the pain, right? We're talking about moving toward resistance and pain. Walking down the main street of his hometown in Missouri, he would keep his eyes focused straight ahead and try to notice the goods in the store windows on either side without turning his head. He worked on this endlessly, developing his peripheral vision so he could see more on the court. In his room at home, he practiced pivot moves and fakes well into the night, such skills that would also help him compensate for his lack of speed. He put all his creative energy into coming up with novel and effective ways of practicing. One time his family traveled to Europe via a transatlantic ship. Finally, they thought he would give him this training regimen and a break. There was really no place to practice on board. But below deck, running the length of the ship, were 2 corridors, 900 feet long, quite narrow, just enough for 2 passengers. This was perfect location to dribble at top speed while maintaining perfect ball control. To make it even harder, he decided to wear special eyeglasses that narrowed his vision. For hours every day, he dribbled up one side and down the other until the voyage was done. Working this way over the years, Bradley slowly transformed himself into one of the biggest stars in basketball. First as an All-American at Princeton University, and then as a professional with the New York Knicks. Fans were in awe of his ability to make the most astounding passes, as if he had eyes on the back and sides of his head, not to mention his dribbling prowess, his incredible arsenal of fakes and pivots. I think I remember this guy. All right, so I'm gonna keep going, right? His fakes and his pivots, and his complete gracefulness on the court. Little did they know that such apparent ease was the result of so many hours of intense practice over so many years. All right, that's Bill Bradley. There's another story with John Keats, who's 8 years old. His father died in a riding accident. His mother never quite got over the loss and died 7 years later, leaving John, his two brothers, and one sister, orphaned and homeless in London. John and his two brothers and one sister who were homeless in London. John was the eldest of the children. He was taken out of the school and appointed trustee and guardian of the estate. He enrolled as an apprentice and a surgeon and an apothecary. He would even have to learn to earn a living as quickly as possible. And this seemed the best career for that. His few terms of school, Keats had developed a love for literature and reading. To continue his education, he would return to his school in his off hours and read as many books as he could in the library. Sometimes later, he had the desire to try his hand at writing poetry, but lacking any kind of literary or instructor or literary circle he could frequent. The only way he knew to teach himself was to read the works of all the great poets in the 17th and 18th centuries. He then wrote his own poems using the poetic form and style of a particular writer he was trying to model himself after. He had a knack for imitating, and soon he was creating verses in dozens of styles, always tweaking them a little with his own voice. Several years into this process, Keats came to a fateful decision. He would devote his life to writing poetry. That was his calling in life, and he would find a way to make a living. To complete the rigorous apprenticeship he had already put himself through, he decided that what he needed was to write a very long poem, 4,000 lines. The poem would revolve around ancient Greek myth and Endymion. He wrote, "A friend will be a test, a trial of my powers of imagination, and chiefly my invention, which I must make 4,000 lines. He gave himself a rather impossible deadline, 7 months, a task of writing 50 lines a day until he had a rough draft. 3/4 of the way through, he came to thoroughly hate the poem he was writing. He would not quit. However, willing his way to the end, meeting the deadline he had set. What he did not like about Endymion was the flowery language, the overwhelming, and the overwriting. Sorry about that. But his only means of exercise, but it was only by this means of exercise that he could discover what worked for him. He went on in the aftermath of writing and considered to be a mediocre poem. Keats took stock of all the invaluable lessons he had learned. Never again would he suffer from writer's block. He had trained himself to write past any obstacle. He had acquired now the habit of writing quickly with intensity and focus, concentrating on his work in a few hours. He could revise with equal speed. He had learned how to criticize himself and his overly romantic tendencies. He could look at his own work with a cold eye. He had learned that it was in the actual writing of the poem that the best ideas would often come to him, and that he had to boldly keep writing or he would miss such discoveries. The most important of all, as a counterexample to Endymion, he had hit upon a style that suited him. Language as compact and dense with imagery as possible, and with not a single wasted line. These lessons that he had learned in the years of 1818 to 1819. Before he became gravely ill, Keats would produce some of the most memorable poems in the English language, including all of his greatest odes. This added to perhaps the most productive 2 years of writing in the history of Western literature. All of it set up by the rigorous self-apprenticeship he had put himself through. So here's the point, right? By nature, we humans shrink from anything that seems possibly painful or overly difficult, right? I'm gonna read it again. By nature, we humans shrink from anything that seems possibly painful or overly difficult, right? We bring this natural tendency to our practice of any skill. Once we grow adept at some point at the skill, generally one that comes more easily to us, we prefer to practice this element over and over. Our skill becomes lopsided and we avoid our weaknesses. Knowing that in our practice, we can let down our guard. Since we are not being watched or under pressure to perform, we bring this kind of dispersed attention. We tend to also be quite conventional in our practice routines. We generally follow what others have done, performing the accepted exercises for these skills. This is the path of amateurs. To attain mastery, we must adopt what we call resistance practice. The principle is simple. You go into the opposite direction of all your natural tendencies when it comes to practice. First, you resist the temptation to be nice to yourself. You become your own worst critic. You see your work as though through the eyes of others. You recognize your weakness precisely, the elements that you are not good at. Those are the aspects you give precedence to in practice. All right, those are the things that we give precedence to in practice. You find a kind of perverse pleasure in moving past the pain this might bring. Secondly, you resist the lure of easing up on your focus. You train yourself to concentrate in practice with double the intensity, as if it were the real thing times 2. In devising your own routines, you become as creative as possible. You invent exercises that work upon your weaknesses. You give yourself arbitrary deadlines to meet certain standards, constantly pushing yourself past perceived limits, right? Constantly pushing ourselves past perceived limits. In this way, you develop your own standards for excellence, generally higher than those of others. In the end, your hours of intense focus work are the equivalent. So your 5 hours of intense focus work are equivalent to 10 hours for most people. Soon enough, you will see the results of such practice, and others will marvel at the apparent ease in which you accomplish your deeds. So, thinking about that, right? In moving towards resistance, right? And the stories that they spoke about it, and like even with Bill Bradley about how he was awkward and he sucked at basketball. He was just tall, right? And he had to come up with things that made him great, that made him stand out, that would make him shine because he was slow, right? Because he was awkward, because he didn't have really good peripheral vision. So he had to work on things that made him good at those things. And it's the same thing, right, for us when it comes to the business, when it comes to the skill set, when it comes to trading, when it comes to investing. The difference, however, though, is all the work is done for you, right? All the work is already done for us. We don't have to come up with things of which we should do, right? Right, there's already things that are in place, right? There's already strategies that are in place. The only thing that we're to do, right, is to continue to persist, right? Because there's always this, and I felt it, right? I've had it probably every year, right? From starting this journey to moving forward, right? And it's not the same. It's not the same strat. It's not the same understanding the charts, right? Understanding trading, understanding the market, right? It's not the same. I've understood it for years. It's 2016 for me was that year, right? That was this, right? To get to master it, right? That was me. And you probably can't even see the book now. There it is, right? So that's what that is for me. That was 2016. It was going through that process of I don't know to learning. And I mean, that was my process, right? It doesn't have to be your process, right? Because I did that, right? So hopefully you won't have to go through that, right? Our educators have gone through that, so you don't have to go through that, right? We have a dozen products, right? When it comes to scanners, when it comes to Swipe Coin, when it comes to the harmonic scanner, when it comes to the DeLorean, when it comes to the live sessions that our educators do. Like there's so much more. There's so much that it's so much more robust now than what we had 3, 4, 5 years ago. And the point of what I'm getting to is sometimes when things are easier, we slack, right? We lack, right? And this is what I'm saying, right? Think about a cell phone. How many times you say, you know what? What's 5 times 5? I'm gonna put that in my cell phone. You might know the answer, but you automatically go for the easy route because that's what we do as humans, right? We go towards what's naturally easy. We go towards what's naturally comfortable for us, right? It's a big plush coat, right? It's just we want it to be comfortable, right? That's just how we are as humans. And that's why it says when it comes to mastery, when it comes to this path, and we're talking about this point here is moving towards resistance and pain, right? Moving towards it, right? Instead of running away from it, moving towards it, right? So it's like, you know what? Learning this skill set, right? Locking in with one of the educators. Okay, I'm gonna watch a session. I'm gonna watch one session every day. If that's a challenge, right? That's what we want to move towards, right? And then there's the practice of it. And you don't ever have to do it, right? Again, you don't ever have to practice. You can just lock in with the educators, right? You can just lock into our sessions. You can just lock into our signals chat, right? You can just lock into the products, right? Coin and like I said, the harmonic scanner. You can lock into the sessions because there's educators for every single product, right? Top educators sure me, right? Swipe Coin, right? You got Crypto Picasso, you got Nick Vance that go through Swipe Coin, right? You got Curtis Cobain, 3 educators, right? You have the DeLorean, you have Patrick Kenny, you have Tyrone Foster, you have Abel Melendez, right? That's 3 more educators. So that's 6, right? So that's 6 live sessions every single week. Then you have Dr. Spiller with colors, right? That's another educator. That's 3. He has a session 3 times a week. So that's 7 educators, right? If you want to focus on the scanner, right? So there's so many things. So the thing is like, okay, well, what do we do? And that's what I like to sit and focus on. So you know what? If we're all doing the same thing, then it's simple. Everybody likes different ice cream. You might like mint chocolate chip. You might like Rocky Road with cookie dough. You might like vanilla bean with sprinkles on top, right? But there's a standard thing that everybody likes. Everybody's different. Everybody has the thing they like the most, right? I like strawberry, but I'll eat vanilla. What's the point of what I'm saying? There's something that's going to be similar, right? You have your preferred, but there's still something you'll eat, right? If that's all that's there, you'll most likely eat it. Maybe it's chocolate, whatever. The point of what I'm saying is just like when it comes to learning the strategy, it's like when it comes to locking into the products, just like when it comes to these things, there's a certain thing, like it says in our mind, right? And I'm gonna go back to it in the book because this really speaks to it. It says, we generally follow what others have done, perform the accepted exercises for the skills. We prefer to practice the elements that we're good at over and over, and our skill becomes lopsided and we avoid our weaknesses, right? We avoid our weaknesses. And that's the trap. That's a trap when it comes to trading. It's a trap when it comes to anything, is that we avoid our weaknesses. I mean, you play to your strengths for sure, but there are some things that this is a whole, it's a whole pie, right? There's certain things that I don't like the crust. Okay, the crust is hard. I get it, but there's the things you're gonna have to go through, right? You're gonna have to eat the crust if you want to enjoy the pie, right? It's part of it. You know what I mean? There are certain things that when it comes from moving towards resistance, right? Instead of away from it, instead of moving towards it, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? It's really going to be uncomfortable. And it's only going to be as uncomfortable as we make it, right? It's uncomfortable in the beginning. Once you push past uncomfortability, it's no longer uncomfortable, right? It even says it in the book, right? Once you push past that uncomfortability, that's the resistance, right? That we're talking about to get to mastery. Once you push past it, then it's no longer a challenge because you've overcome it already. But if we keep getting up to it and then going back, oh, you know, I'm gonna get up to it. Oh, then I'm gonna get back. Then I'm gonna get up to it and I'm gonna get back. Oh, I'm gonna get up to it. I'm gonna get up to it. I'm gonna get up to it. But you don't get past it, right? Like if you don't ever get past it, then you don't overcome it. If you don't overcome it, then you won't build up the power, right? You won't build up the resistance. You won't build up. That's like trading. You win a trade, you lose a trade. Oh my God, I lost a trade. Great, right? But if you don't ever prepare that, hey, how am I going to feel? Right. That's what we focus on, right? That would be a weakness. What if I lost 5 trades in a row? Okay, well, you're going to win the next one. I'm not saying it's normal, but I'm saying it's a possibility. That's why we only trade from 1 to 3%, right? 5% if you're going heavy. But at the end of the day, the only way we get good at that is what? We got to at least place the trade. We got to trade in the demo account, right? Like it talked about in the book that when you practice, when your intensity is twice as intense as it is as it will be in the real thing, right? When you're actually on the charts, when you're actually on a live session with the educator, there's a sense of, you might be nervous, there's a sense of joy, a sense of fear, just it's all there. It's a lot of emotions mixed. You're like, oh man, I'm about to profit in the market. You might be like, oh man, I don't want to lose this money, right? There's a lot of emotions that we have to settle, right? I would say master, but we really have to settle it, right? Just right? Just calm ourselves, because it's easy, right? It's easy to get overcome. It's easy to get sucked in to whatever that emotion is, right? But if that emotion is not going to bring you to the success that you desire, then we may want to adjust it, right? But all that is overcome when we move towards resistance, right? We move towards resistance. I mean, and if it's making sense, you know what I mean? Let me get a 333 in the chat. I can guarantee you can think about times, you can think about experiences where you've done something or you begin to learn something and it wasn't easy, right? You begin to learn something that you did not know and it wasn't easy. But now you look at you today and you're really good at it. So what was it? There was a desire. There was something that was pushing you. Whether it was money, whether it was an obligation, whether it was like, oh, I got to do this for my mom, I got to do this for my wife, or I got to do this for my husband, or I got to do this for whomever, I got to do this for my kids, right? There was something that was driving you, right? And we call that in this space your reason why, right? When it comes to trading, when it comes to building the business, why would you share this with somebody? Because you want to get to financial freedom, right? Check this out. I was listening to a guy on Instagram earlier today, and he was, I believe by trade, a financial planner, or financial planner for people. And he said something interesting, right? He's like, some people say when we're going for their goals. I want to achieve financial freedom. And he says, no, when I talk to my clients, he's like, I shift that perspective, right? From going from financial freedom to financial independence, right? To being financially independent. And he said that the statement was, and it's something that I've said for the longest, right? Another affirmation. He's like, I work because I choose to, not because I have to, right? I just say that to yourself. I work because I choose to, not because I have to. Right? I work because I choose to, not because I have to. And if your mind goes to, well, these bills are telling me I have to. No, they're not telling you have to. Your mind is telling you have to. Right? Your mind is telling you that you have to. Well, if I don't work, then I'm gonna lose everything. No, you're not. Because just like you got that opportunity, there's going to be another. There will constantly be something to take care of you. Right? Because I think sometimes we fail to realize, and I was looking at this the other day, that we come from stardust, right? Like it's real. Like I'm not even joking. Like I could pull it up for you, but we're literally from stardust. They said the molecules, the atoms and the elements that are inside our bodies are the same thing that are in stars. Right? They're literally the same things that are in stars. Watch. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you. And there's a point that I'm going here for a reason, right? So flow with me. I'm going here for a reason. All right, let me share my screen. All right, see, we are made from, see, it's already in there, right? Stardust. Here it is. So are we really made of stardust? Check this out. You can screenshot if you want, or I can screenshot and throw it in the chat. So oxygen, 65%, carbon, 18.5%, hydrogen, 9.5%, nitrogen, 3.2%, calcium, 1.5%, 1% phosphorus, 0.4% potassium, 0.3% sulfur, 2% sodium, 3% chlorine, 0.1% magnesium. It says the trace elements are less than 1%, right? Boron, chromium, cobalt, copper, fluorine, iodine, manganese, selenium, silicone. Here we go. Most of the elements that make up the human body were formed in stars. The first generation of stars, 13 or 14 billion years ago with the Big Bang, all that point only, the lightest elements existed, such as hydrogen, helium, minuscule amounts of lithium. Elements are matter that cannot be broken down into simpler substances. On the periodic table, each element is distinguished by its atomic number, which describes the number of protons and nuclei of its atom. Right, let me get to the point. Here we go. The first stars burned their fuel quickly and were able to make only a few elements heavier than hydrogen and helium. When those stars went supernova and expelled the elements they had produced, they seeded the next generation of stars. It's amazing, right? Stars create more stars. Scientists can tell the temperature and age of stars from their color. Hotter stars burn blue, while cooler and older stars burn red. So, but when you read through it, and it shows it back in the beginning, so we get down to here, right? So are we really made of stardust? Most of the elements of our bodies were formed in stars over the course of billions of years and multiple star lifetimes. And when we go back to the top, all these elements here, right? Like it says, these were found in stars. And this was, here it goes. It says, planetary scientist, Stardust expert, Dr. Ashley King explains. Stars that go supernova are responsible for creating many of the elements of the periodic table, including those that make up the human body, right? So I didn't say it, I just learned it, right? This is Dr. Ashley King that says we're made of stardust, right? So understanding that, right? Understanding that truth, right? Understanding that fact, we understand that we're truly created from some of the most amazing things in the universe, right? That's what they call us God's highest creation. But it's real, right? It's not like it's not a myth. And when it comes to that, what is the point of what you're saying, Keith? The point of what I'm saying is this. Why do we allow ourselves to lack? Why do we allow ourselves to slack, right? Why do we allow ourselves to not give what we really can give, right? Why do we not give and push ourselves to the next level? Because we have choice, right? We have the audacity of choice, right? We can choose to do whatever we want to do. And that's the beautiful thing, but it's also the most detrimental thing that I see that we have in life is the power of choice. Because we can choose whatever, right? We can choose anything. What's this got to do with the resistance training, right? What does this have to do with moving towards resistance? Well, it has everything to do with it, right? Because easy decisions, right? If it's easy to do, it's also easy not to do, right? So what is the point of what I'm saying? It's easy to lock into the call. It's easy to lock into an educator, but it's also easy not to do, right? I know Jim Rohn talks about that. Whatever is easy to do is easy not to do. Right? It's easy to learn to trade, but it's also easy not to. It's easy to do something else. Right? It's easy to learn the strategy, but it's also easy not to. It's also easy to just kind of do it a little bit and then we don't get to where we desire to go. Right? The point of what I'm saying is this, is wherever we go, right? Whatever level we get to is going to be based on us, right? And if we're looking to get to a level of mastery, right? If we're looking to get to a level of mastery, then we have to move towards the resistance, right? We have to move towards the things that we may not enjoy, because that's just part of life, right? There's always going to be something in life that we do not enjoy. And we want to learn to move towards it, because once we move towards it and we overcome it, then you don't have to continue to overcome it, right? You don't have to continue to go through the same things because you've overcome it, right? If you can't do one pull-up, you get to a point where you can do 5 pull-ups. You don't ever have to worry about being able to do 1 pull-up again, right? Because you can do 5 now. And you can keep going on, right? You get to do 10. And then once you can do 10, you never have to worry about doing 5 again. Why? Because you can do 10. It's not an issue anymore, right? And that's the same thing that I'm saying when it comes to this resistance training, right? Because we're moving towards mastery. We're moving towards mastery. And let's see, it's 8:47. We're about to wrap up. And I want to read this part one more time and then we'll finish up. It says, knowing that in our practice, we can let our guard down. Since we're not being watched or under pressure to perform, we bring this kind of dispersed attention. We tend to also be quite conventional in our practice routines, right? So that's why we have different things, right? That's why we have, when it comes to this skill set, right? Whether it's trading or whether it's building the business, when it comes to this skill set, that's why there is someone to constantly challenge you, right? Somebody like me, somebody like one of the educators, right? There's something that we do, and I'll make sure to post this into our chat too, is the homework, right? to make sure that we're locked into doing the homework. So I will post that in there because I haven't done any homework in a while, and using TradingView, using the tools, right? Because again, we're talking about getting to a level of mastery. Do you ever have to? No, you don't ever have to learn TradingView. You don't ever have to learn a lot of stuff because the educators are there to feed you, right? You earn while you learn. So you don't ever have to. But if we're wanting to get to the next level, right, then it would behoove us to do it, right? It would behoove us to continue to move forward, to continue to rise, right? To continue to move towards that which is not as comfortable. Because that's the other end of it, right? That's where the masters live, right? That's where those who when it comes to this space, right, earn $10,000, $20,000 in a day. And I'm really not joking, right? Like I've seen it. There's a lot of people part of our team and organization, Rich Girls Trade, that earn thousands of dollars a day, right? But how do we get to that, right? Because that's mastery. That's mastery, right? Even if part of the mastery is being a student, right? Master being a student. Why? Because there's even a level when it comes to pushing up against, well, don't tell me what to do. Okay. But then that limits your effectiveness, right? That limits the effectiveness of who you're learning from, whether it's an educator, whether it's myself, whether it's Christopher Terry, the CEO, right? Whomever it is, that limits us to getting to the next level of success because you can only tell me so much, right? I can only be told so much. And if we want to, right, avoid that, right? Because that could be something that is an obstacle that could be getting us or keeping us from that next level of success, right? So we want to continue to work on ourselves, right? And this, again, all this is what? Moving towards resistance, right? Instead of moving away from it, instead of trying to duck it, instead of trying to dodge it, like, oh, right, we're moving towards the resistance. And like I said, so that's number 5. That's number 5 when it comes to the things as far as complementing the apprenticeship. The next one that we're going to talk about next week is apprenticing yourself in failure, right? Apprenticing yourself in failure. But that is going to be next week. But yeah, guys, appreciate you guys for locking in. So hopefully you got some value from the session today. Hopefully you got something that you can take away, something that is going to make your trading better, something that's going to take you to the next level when it comes to building your business. Hopefully you got something today that is going to help that. And before we close out, I am going to make I'm gonna make the announcement, but we'll go ahead and rock out with this. And let me get some water because I am parched. But appreciate you guys for being here. Absolutely appreciate you being here because you could have been anywhere else in the world. Yet you were here with us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Much love to you guys. Appreciate you guys. Let me stop the recording. One moment. Yep. Let me stop the YouTube recording. I think I stopped it. I want to confirm. All right, I think it has stopped because I'm not able to see it. No, there we go. Boom, there it is. All right, cool. So now it's stopped. Okay, so I wanted to mention this because I wanted to switch something up when it comes to the sessions that we do throughout the week. I know we do our Monday, Mindset Monday, Takeover Tuesday, and then our Mastery Strategy session for Wednesday. I want to switch it up. And I thought about this just recently and something I observed. And some of the educators have sessions, right? And I know when it comes to those of us who are sharing the opportunity with other people, there are 8 o'clock sessions, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And our sessions, of course, are at the same time as those sessions because they're 8 o'clock. I know educator when it comes to the crypto session, crypto neck. I know I posted it in band, and you're going to keep getting updates, right? I'm gonna put the whole schedule for all the educators that I would love for you guys to lock into and follow when it comes to DCX, when it comes to DeLorean. Their schedule is going to be in band, right? So you're constantly going to see the reminders. As long as you have your alerts on for band, you'll be good to go. So that is going to be in there. But what I wanted to say is I wanted to adjust and switch up is I wanted to shift the calls that I'm doing, because I want to make sure that we're able to lock into the educators with the platform. And we'll jump on, right? We'll jump on sometime, maybe on a Saturday or something like that, or another day. But I want to make sure that we're getting the most out of the platform, right? I want to make sure that you guys are getting the most of what it is that you're paying for. So, yeah. So I'm gonna shift, right? I want to stop doing the Monday. We're going to continue to do. Monday is a staple, right? Monday we're going to continue to do, but the Tuesday, Takeover Tuesday, and then the Wednesday call, I'm going to shift it because I know there's a session. I think it's 7 with Crypto Nick. There's a session with Curtis Cobain at 9. Ours is kind of right in the middle of that. But at the same time, it becomes a lot, right? It becomes a lot, like locking in from 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9 for our call. And then if you do Curtis Cobain, you got 9 to 10, right? If you locked into all of it. So my thing is just simplicity, right? And making sure that everybody is, like I said, is getting the most out of it. And then at the end of the day, like when it comes to our sessions, we can always do our sessions, right? We can always jump on at some point, but I wanted to shift that, right? And let me know if it's making sense what I'm saying, right? But like I said, I wanted to shift it so that it's not so jam-packed, right? Because like I said, there's a lot of things that are going on that Tuesday, Wednesday, really Tuesday, Wednesday, right? When we're doing our calls. So I wanted to shift that. And like I said, hopefully it's making sense, and we'll still do calls. So don't think that we won't, because I mean, that's always my passion, is the skill set. But at the same time, I want to make sure that the educators, right? The educators that are official educators for IM Mastery Academy, that we're locked into them, right? So we're getting the most out of it, right? If they're calling live trades, if they're going through the products, I want to make sure that you guys are able to get the most out of it. And I don't want to be in the way of that, right? Of course, I'm always here as a help, as a resource, what have you. And like I said, sometimes we'll jump on. We'll have sessions. We'll say, hey, we'll jump on and we'll do this session. And I want to figure out another live session where we actually can do some trading together, because I normally trade London. And so we'll have to sit down, right? We'll have to figure out what day that's going to be. And it'll most likely be crypto, because crypto we can do any day, versus Forex. And there's certain time frames that Forex has that crypto doesn't have, right? Crypto is 24/7. There's no stopping it. So I'll sit down and we'll figure out what day that is. Like I said, whether it's like an evening session, what have you. I know that's probably the best for everybody, something after like 7 o'clock, but we'll figure that out as we move forward. But I do want to do a live session for trading. Like I said, I like London because it's just peaceful. It's quiet. I've done London for years. It's just, I'm used to it at this point. So, but everybody's asleep, right? Or most people are asleep. So I want to do something to where we can actually all join in. We can all participate together in a session. So we'll look at that as the week progresses, and we'll figure out what day. I might even just post it in our chat. I'll post it in band and say, hey guys, what day works for you, right? If we jumped on for an hour, what have you. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to know. That's all what I wanted to mention to you guys. That is the announcement that I had, and I'm looking. It's we already started the month, so I may do this in June. But I'm looking at doing a promotion, right? When it comes to the sharing of the business, right? And also when it comes to trading, I'm looking to put some things together. So I love doing contests, right? I love inspiring people and giving people reasons to go out there and achieve their goals. So we're going to be doing that. The month, like I said, the month has already started. It's the 17th already, so we're more than halfway into the month. So I don't want to do it now, but most likely we're going to do something starting June 1st as a promo, and it's most likely going to be wrapped around cryptocurrencies, whether it's giving away Bitcoin. It's going to be $50 worth of something, whether it's like Bitcoin or it's Ethereum or it's some obscure cryptocurrency that I don't know, might go 100% in the next week or so, right? So it's like I'm looking at those kind of things, and so I want to do more of those things as we move, as we progress, as we grow as a team, as an organization. So I definitely keep your eyes peeled. I will be posting stuff in the chat. You will see like a poll in the chat, right? To see like what days work for you, and then what kind of things that you like to see us do as an organization. But there are definitely some things that I have planned for the summer. So stay tuned. But again, much love to you guys. It is 9:00. I don't want to keep you. It's 9:00 on the dot. So much love to you guys. You guys have a great night. God bless. I will see you guys in London or whenever we have the next call. All right, guys. Have a great night.